Broadcasting live. I actually have family members, cousins who live here with a little baby who said, you know, we are scared. 2 attacks in 10 months, we are scared, but we will not stay inside because then they've won. Then the terrorists have won. But yes, they are nervous at the same time.
That's right, because there are still suspected terrorists and accomplices who are wanted right now. But we're getting reports of an incident at Plaza de la Republique. Jim Sciutto, I believe, is on the line to tell us more. Jim, what can you tell us?
I haven't seen anything like it in my life, I will tell you. I've covered stories like this. We were on Plaza with hundreds of people when all of a sudden the entire crowd cleared the square, running in Paris in panic. Running down the street hundreds of yards away. We don't know, to be honest, what caused the panic. I didn't hear gunfire. I'm confident I would recognize it if I heard it. I didn't hear gunfire. I'm confident I would recognize it if I heard it. We don't know. But the entire running, as far as they can tell, for their lives, we, with a group of about 100 people, have come into what I think would be a Muslim temple. It's just down the street. The level of concern is something I've never seen in my life.
All right. That's Jim Sciutto. Obviously, we're having some audio problems. He's calling us from a cell phone. This is a breaking news situation. I'm told that Anderson Cooper is now mic'd up in front of a camera in Paris. Anderson, what can you tell us about this moment of panic that Jim Sciutto just told us about?
Wow.
Anderson, can you hear me?
Show the emptiness.
Hello?
Camera,
Anderson, it's Jake Tapper. Can you hear me?
Stay on us.
Guys, are we in a commercial break?
All right, we're obviously having some problems. We're going to take a...
Guys, are we in a commercial break?
All right, we're obviously having some problems. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to hopefully get all our ducks in a row and bring you this breaking news story out of Paris. Thanks for bearing with us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I have a resident named Joyce, and she kept complaining about all her aches and pains. And I said, come to class. Let's start walking together. And I said, and I bet you money you'll be able to do that senior walk. That day, I said, okay, it's me and you, girl, me and you. I said, if you need to stop, there's a bench. We'll just hang out in the shade. She goes, absolutely not. We are going to finish this race. And we were the last ones in, but you know what? We finished the race. And she goes, Desiree, I'll never quit walking, ever.
America is taking the lead in energy.
Leading the world in oil and natural gas production.
I vote to keep it going.
With the right policies, we can produce, refine, and supply
more oil and natural gas.
And more abundant energy
means more affordable energy for American families.
A more secure America.
Jobs.
Opportunity and economic growth. For our children.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Welcome back. We have some breaking news. As you know, Paris is on edge after the devastating Islamist terrorist attacks for just 2 days ago, not even fully. And apparently there was a moment of panic. People running from the Plaza de la Republique. Let me go to Anderson Cooper and Christiane Amanpour right now, who are live for us in Paris. Christiane, what just happened?
Well, look, you can see behind us, this place, which we told you just a few moments ago, was packed to the gills. In the matter of seconds, has emptied. All I can tell you is that I was in a hotel, basically going to the hotel, and everybody came rushing in, and I said, what happened? What happened? And they said, there's a shooter out there, but there isn't.
I was actually in the McDonald's walking across the way. Whatever it is.
They said, there's a shooter out there, but there isn't.
I was actually in the McDonald's walking across the way. Whatever it is, the focus of it was about half a block in that direction, right where I was before. We walked by 3 police officers just as they as they got some sort of word. They started yelling. They chambered some bullets into their rifles, and they took cover. And instantly, when the police officer started yelling, this entire place cleared out.
The hotels are full.
Several other police, another squad of police, about 6 or 7 police officers, moved in from another area, and they're all now focused on an area that, as I said, is about a half a block to a block away, just around the corner. We can't tell what the actual source of the issue is, but the police were yelling for all vehicles to get off the street. Several people were walking down the street, were grabbed by police officers and pulled off the street. And I can tell you right now, there are still police taking cover. People were walking down the street, were grabbed by police officers and pulled off the street. And I can tell you right now, there are still police taking cover behind several trees and behind several positions. But there were hundreds of people in this square.
Thousands.
And as Christian said,
and they're all cowering inside any open building there, behind vehicles. I saw a man who had to take his heart pressure pills, blood pressure pills, sitting down. People in total panic, as you can imagine, and thinking that there was a shooter. And we said, what happened? Did you hear any gunfire? No, heard no gunfire. But it just shows you how desperately people are on edge. I walked the entire length of the empty place, and there's no shooting here, but real fear. And there's sirens all around, actually.
Yeah, it was actually, it's a very distinctive sound of somebody chambering, a bullet into their rifle. And you heard that there's been a heavy police presence, obviously, in this area. There's been great concern throughout the day about large numbers of people gathering anywhere in Paris. Authorities have told people not to do that. But as a sign of defiance, many people have been gathering here at the Place de la République. But upon hearing that, and also hearing the officers starting to yell for people to get down, this area has entirely cleared out. It looks as if they're still diverting traffic away from this area.
They're turning around there, doing U-turns.
Anderson,
they're telling vehicles.
Anderson, the people that you saw, the people that you saw police moving, were they people that were being taken into custody, or were they just being moved out of the street?
No, it was just people who were being moved out of the street. People who weren't clear on what was going on. Police would grab somebody and pull them away to a more secure place. But again, they have still blocked off this street. There is some more. They have still blocked off this street. There is some more traffic coming up around this area, and it looks like, I'm just looking now, the police who I saw who had their rifles drawn.
They're right behind us, the police.
Yeah.
Some have a riot shield, someone has a gun pulled right there.
The police who I was actually behind earlier, it looks like they are standing up. They're in a little bit more of a relaxed posture. They no longer have their rifles pointed toward that direction.
Okay,
so
I'm going to go. Can you go and ask those
policemen
what happened? Dominique, go and ask those policemen what happened.
There's also a police van now moving into the area with its lights flashing. Police do. From my eye, it looks like the police are kind of a little bit more relaxed now. They're moving around a little freely. It was very much of a more of a combat stance that they had, ducking behind trees, taking cover. They had their rifles pointed outward. Police have been very careful.
Look at them all.
Yeah, you can see now a line of police moving in this way. There's
a lot of sirens. There is
moving in this way. There's a lot
of sirens. There is a fear that there may still be people at large, and everybody here is afraid of that. And for a while, they defied that fear and they came out. But in an instant, the panic took over. And now, there are police vans and there are police there with their
And you can see now a lot more people are starting to move in. What is interesting, Jake, is that though there has been a heavy police presence and the police are wearing tactical vests, they've been very careful to make sure that their rifles have been pointed downward very strongly. The butts of the rifle are up. The actual the rifles are pointed down. But as soon as whatever it was occurred, immediately the rifles up. There were bullets chambered, and they were in a very protective, aggressive stance.
Anderson and Christian, stay with us. I'm going to bring in Jim Sciutto, who's on the phone with us. He's in a hotel with some of these panicked Parisians. He's in a hotel with some of these panicked Parisians. Jim, has anyone been ever able to tell you what they exactly were running from?
Well, Jay, I'll tell you. We came here, we're in a building just down the street, a couple blocks away, with about 100 people on the top floor. There are girls crying here. There are people on their phones trying to figure out what happened. We're watching French television here, which now shows people going back into the Place de la République. But I'll tell you, Jake, I've covered a lot of stories like this. I've never seen a crowd move that size with such panic, really fleeing in any direction they could. It gives you a measure of the level of concern in Paris right now. I've talked to a lot of people here to say, did you hear gunfire? Did you hear an explosion? No one can say that. It was enough for one person to be nervous to get the whole crowd moving. And I'll tell you, I've never seen anything like it.
All right, let me go back to Anderson and Christian.
And I'll tell you, I've never seen anything like it.
All right, let me go back to Anderson and Christian, if I can, back in the streets at the Place de la République, where thousands of citizens of France had been gathering when something, we don't know yet what it is, happened, causing almost all of them to flee the streets and head for the shelter of hotels and restaurants and cafes, anywhere they can get that was not in public. We should remind our viewers of the obvious, which is that these devastating terrorist attacks in Paris happened not even 2 full days ago, and authorities in France and throughout Europe are concerned that there are other terrorists, other accomplices still out there. An arrest warrant has been put out, an international arrest warrant for a brother of one of the 7 Islamist terrorists who were killed or who killed themselves during these devastating attacks in Paris on Friday evening. And so a degree of panic is not surprising. Do we have Anderson or Christian there with us?
The police told you. Well,
yeah, we are.
We've just been hearing, because we asked our John Berman, we asked our producers to run around and find out if anything happened, because we saw no evidence of anything real, like no explosion, no gunfire, no nothing, just total panic. And the police are now saying that there is no gunman out there that they've seen.
They were on.
Come on.
They were, if you can hear me, they were on their walkie-talkies communicating, saying that people are running for nothing. They're running for nothing. You can see the police have sort of dispersed here and people have come back out again. I can tell you the fear over the last 30 minutes, though, it's simply palpable.
It's really interesting, though, because, I mean, we were crossing over from the McDonald's, and the only sound that I heard was the police, were 3 police officers who began yelling and getting their rifles up. And it was their yelling and the sound, and it was their yelling and the sound of their rifles is what cleared this area out immediately. There was no other official announcement or anything like that. People were very attuned to the sound of those police officers yelling and hearing them. I'm not even sure the correct term for it, but getting the bullets in the chamber.
It's important to note the police, I don't think, wanted these people here to begin with.
They didn't.
There were not supposed to be gatherings like this for several more days inside this city. And you could see them over the last several hours concerned as they were around here. So I think this.
But it does go, doesn't it?
Doesn't
it speak so eloquently to the total fear that people have right now? I mean, within just like that, this square was empty. I saw people crying, people hugging.
Christian, we were in a restaurant a block and a half away because we were between live shots. People knocked over all the tables. They ran down into a basement with no exits. There was a woman coming down the stairs with her baby yelling, "My baby, my baby." We wanted to get out because I didn't think a basement with no exits was a good place to be. The restaurateur had already locked the door and pulled down the metal, the metal entrance to the door there.
I actually stopped behind, relatively close to the police officers to videotape, and I'm sending that video on. I don't know if we've sent it in, but you don't actually see anything. It was interesting because even the officers who I was watching, they couldn't see necessarily what was going on, and I don't know if something came across their radios. They were everybody was pointed in one direction, but nobody could really see what was occurring.
They were all looking down that road right there.
And there have been sirens for the last sort of hour, so we're kind of, what are the sirens? And then you sort of get used to it, and now they're locked.
We should also just point out, I mean, there's a very real reason why people are on edge, not just because of what occurred on Friday, but because this vehicle that was found in a suburb of Paris with some Kalashnikovs inside it, and it's believed to be
a vehicle which was driven and involved in the attacks on a number of the restaurants. And it's believed to be a vehicle which was driven and involved in the attacks on a number of the restaurants on Friday night. And the idea is that whoever the attacker was who was driving that vehicle has most likely got away. One of the attackers, believed to have been involved in the restaurant attacks, did detonate a device and was killed. But the person who actually drove that vehicle, they are unaccounted for at this time. So there's not only that person who would have been directly involved in some of the attacks on Friday night, but any number of other people who may have been involved in the larger plot, in the larger planning of this.
Right, and it's hard to imagine, of course.
He's got a name and a face. There's
I don't think
John
John doesn't have his IFB in, but it's hard to imagine that 7 or 8 men, 7 or 8 terrorists were able to pull off a plot this complicated, this complex by themselves. It's hard to imagine that there aren't many others who knew about what was going to happen. There is an international warrant out for the arrest of one of the brothers of one of the going to happen. There is an international warrant out for the arrest of one of the brothers of one of the 7 Islamist terrorists who were killed or who killed themselves on Friday night. And it's got to be an incredibly tense place to be right now. And of course, tomorrow morning, I believe it was the French Interior Ministry said schools are going to open as normal. So tomorrow should be a very nervous day as well, Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, there is that concern. There's no doubt about it. There were people there here today, though, who brought their families. I mean, there's somebody who has a baby in a baby carriage right now. People wanted to come out. And they want to try to resume as much as possible their normal lives. Cafes were open today. I stopped off at one cafe to talk to some people. They were there under guard. There were 2 French police officers watching people drinking coffee, eating in an outdoor cafe. But there was this attempt to try to return to some sort of normal life, almost as a way of standing up to the terror, standing up to the fear. But certainly what happened here is just an indication of, though there is resolve, there is also understandable fear and concern. And that's something that is, it makes sense. This is a very active investigation. There's the feeling that, there could be another shoe to drop in all of this. There could be some other incident, as there may be more people on the run out there at this very hour.
And there is a media report, and perhaps it's even going to be confirmed soon, that the president wants to keep the state of emergency in place for 3 months. So that goes to show.
Yeah. Obviously, very fluid situation here, Jake.
Ask John Berman, if you would, to share any observations he wants to make. I'm not sure if he can hear me.
Jake wants to know if any other information you gleaned out there.
No, people were running around looking for answers. People were running around looking for answers, going from police officer to police officer to try to ask them what's happening. And then we all gathered around one person who looked somewhat official, who was on his walkie-talkie communicating with someone else. And it was that officer saying, "They're running for nothing. They're running for nothing. There's nothing going on here." And at that moment, with those words, you saw the flood of people come back in here.
Okay,
it was empty 10 minutes
ago.
They
thought it was a shooter. Yeah.
And they thought it was a shooter, by the way, in a 5-block radius of this. They were all
Go
around.
ahead, Jake.
I think we have the tape that you shot, the moment of panic, Anderson, so I'd like to roll that for our viewers, if possible, right now. Wow, you can really see the panic there. The video at the memorial, people lighting people lighting candles, people putting down flowers and other gifts, and then, for what reason we do not know, the crowd just starts running in panic. It gives you an idea of just how terrified people are.
Once one person panics. Well, yeah, and once one person panics in a situation like this, the herd mentality sets in. Honestly, I was in the bathroom, and this person came screaming through, threw her books down, locked herself in a stall, and said, "There's a shooter out there." That's what people thought. So we came barreling out to find out.
It was interesting, though, just hearing a bullet being chambered is what got my attention, and instantly...
That'll get your attention.
It got my attention very quickly, and you really heard it echoing in this plaza. The sound of it is so distinctive, and I heard that almost before I heard the police officers actually yelling, and I don't even know what they were yelling, but they were also telling other motorists. There was one motorist.
Broadcasting live. I actually have family members, cousins who live here with a little baby who said, we are scared. 2 attacks in 10 months, we are scared, but we will not stay inside because then they've won. Then the terrorists have won. But yes, they are nervous at the same time.
That's right, because there are still suspected terrorists and accomplices who are wanted right now. But we're getting reports of an incident at Plaza de la Republique. Jim Sciutto, I believe, is on the line to tell us more. Jim, what can you tell us?
I haven't seen anything like it in my life. I will tell you. I've covered stories like this. We were on platform with hundreds of people when all of a sudden the entire crowd cleared the square, running in Paris in panic. Running down the street hundreds of yards away. We don't know, to be honest, what caused the panic. I did not hear gunfire. I'm confident I would recognize it if I heard it.